Hello YouTube! So another season of Precure has come and gone. Wonderful Precure has aired its finale. So it's time to revisit the season now that we've seen it all, besides the movie. Still not seen the movie. Now on top of revisiting Wonderful Precure as a season overall, I will also fill it into my overall Precure season rankings, and I have changed more spots since my original video. I mean, if you remember, I was still on the fence about some of my original opinions there. There have been changes, so stick around for that at the end. Wonderful Precure as a season, it started off terribly. I think it is the worst start to a Precure season I've ever seen. That's definitely saying something because I think the start of a Precure season is often the strongest. There's all these new things thrown at us. New cures, new environment, new powers, new villains, new everything. But Wonderful Precure, it did things differently. They, of course, introduced us to the main duo, but we weren't really introduced to any villains. It took ages to finally get more than just the base two cures. There was also a lack of action in the start of the season that usually spices up the episodes a little bit. Like, I'm not that crazy about Precure action scenes. Like, I enjoy Kira Kira Precure, which also lacked like the hand-to-hand combat and all that. But the first, I'd say about 10 episodes of Wonderful Precure were very rough. I'm thrilled to say it rallied and the season ended very strong. We got Yuki as Kier Nyami, and we got Mayu as Kier Lillian, and that was the turning point for the season. This cat duo saved the show. I enjoy Kier Wonderful and Kier Friendly now as much as I enjoy the cats, but at this time, both those characters were very much lacking. They needed more to do, and giving them more characters to bounce off of as cures was the trick. You know, it still wasn't perfect, but you saw the improvements starting to happen. Then we got the introduction of the villains of the season, and that was probably the biggest turning point where I was like, okay, this season is actually getting genuinely good. It's not just getting better. Along with the villains, the characters were getting more established. We were getting focus episodes for each of the characters. And the dynamics were really starting to work. Even the fight scenes where things weren't going very well at the start, they found more creative ways to make them entertaining, more interesting. They transformed the cures into devices. I still remember Cure Wonderful becoming a wheel. Now, I was shocked once we got towards the end of the season where all the fun we were having, it took an emotional turn and they explored the topic of losing a pet. Wow, I was very impressed by how this child show Precure handled this topic. And it was the biggest through point of the final arc. I thought it was just this one episode thing where this older woman had lost her dog. You can go see me crying about that in my last Precure check-in. No, they did even more with that theme. They made the villain of the season, who we thought was Gao. It turns out Gao is a wolf who's no longer with us, and our main antagonist is the human friend of Gao, trying to get revenge. And this tied everything in so well. Delicious Party Precure and Hyogaru Sky Precure both had very weak endings. I was kind of expecting the same thing to happen to Wonderful Precure a little bit because it was following the same trends as those seasons in a lot of ways, even though I think it was better in a lot of ways too. But no, Wonderful Precure, it totally stuck the landing. Having the cures fighting a human and having that human realize that there are other good humans, having that layer of hypocrisy where it's like, you're a human saying all humans are bad. It just all worked together so well. It was such a heartfelt ending. All the emotional strings were strong. Like, oh my gosh, it was an emotional roller coaster. It was handled so well. It was an impressive ending. And then in this last episode, once all the villain fights have been over, Nico takes everybody back, takes all the cure powers away, and Mayu and Iraha are left with Yuki and Komugi as pets. Devastating. Just as they all got to explore together, learn more about each other, talk to each other, all that was ripped away. But it was also like, oh, at least they had that time. So it was very sweet, and you could tell they still had the love for each other, but it just wasn't the same. It was a very bittersweet ending, but they take it all back, and through sheer willpower, the Mirror Stone gives them their powers back to talk, at least. And they get to exchange like their final words before the end of the season. Oh my gosh, bawling waterworks. Like, oh my gosh, it was such a great ending. I did glance over a little bit the guys who had their transformation in the movie that we didn't see. They did get to join in on the action in the final arc. That was very appreciated. I like the movies got to have their effect on the show. I will say, since I haven't seen the movie, I feel like I was missing context. I was also very thrown off by the voice of that bunny. Very thrown off. But I was happy that they got to be included in that. It really had me looking back at Go Princess Precure and thinking, wow, I wish we would have done this for Yui back in the day. Justice for Yui. I have no complaints about Wonderful Precure's ending. You can never erase the bad start that they had. I will say it's bad. It was a bad start in hindsight. But they rallied and gave an excellent season ending, and that last impression, it matters a lot. I think all 4 of these cures very much stand on their own. All of them leave an impression. I was worried that it was gonna be the Cure Nyami show, but honestly, I feel like the other 3 cures in the last stretch of things, they got more focused than she did. It's very equal between all of them now. If I had to choose one standout, I would say Cure Friendy, but I think I'm gonna have to stick with Cure Lillian. I also have to give a shout out to Mei Mei. What a great character, so funny, and was also very much pulling at my heartstrings. When Nico was taking him back with her, separating him from everybody, it was very devastating. Oh, Mei Mei. If I have to say one thing about changing the season besides just the beginning, I would say Nico as a character. I wish they gave Nico a focus episode to explore her characterization more. I do like Nico, but I feel like Nico just didn't get proper attention. That's my one thing. It's not make or break for the season, but I think that would have made the season better. It would have made me a little more invested in Nico, who I said from the beginning, a very interesting character. I really like a lot of the personality traits I'm seeing. Just, they never got focused on. I know this has been a little brief and I'm kind of sped through the season, but I feel like I've said my piece about the season. I've been covering it for over half the season now. I think I'm good to move on to the rankings. This is not going to take an hour like last time. I'm going to speed through some seasons because I said what I needed to say about them previously. I'll probably touch on some of them, but I'll mostly spotlight any changes I did make. At number 21, I have Delicious Party Precure. I feel even more solidified on that after Wonderful Precure. At spot number 20, I have Doki Doki Precure, and I did cover the new Cure ordeal that I was very excited for at the time. It turns out that was a combination of Regina and Cure Ace, and I totally despised that. Honestly, even part of me was like, should I just move the season down to last just out of spite for how terrible and insulting that is to Regina as a character who just can never get a win? But I decided to just leave it alone and Delicious Party gets that bottom spot, but wow, how could something that seems so good go so badly? At number 19 and 18, I have Yes Precure 5 and Yes Precure 5 Go Go. At spot number 17, I have Hero Gar Sky Precure. And honestly, after seeing how well Wonderful Precure has ended, part of me was thinking, should I move this below Yes 5? But I did decide against it. I just really want to like Hero Gar Sky Precure. And I know a lot of people really like that, and I'm drawn to that positivity. I think there were so many things going for the season, but again, I just don't think it executed most of the things it tried to do very well. I respect the season, but I think it's a very flawed season, and I think it's a very forgettable season. A season that changed so much about Precure. The first guy cure, the first adult cure, the first blue cure. It should not be as generic as it was. I'm sorry. Like, don't make all those changes if you're gonna be generic. At number 16, I have Sweet Precure. At number 15, I have Smile Precure. And I remember back when I made my first ranking video, I thought if I wanted to switch those, but I thought about it again because I'm still like, wow, I just really do remember Sweet Precure fondly. But after this wonderful Precure ending and realizing how amazing a strong ending can be, and how a strong start isn't make or break, I have to double down and keep Sweet Precure below Smile Precure because it really was a bad ending. It does matter how things finish off. So I feel more confident in that original decision now. At number 14, I have Happiness Charge Precure. At number 13, I have Healing Good Precure. And finally, at number 12 is where Wonderful Precure has ended up. And this is a very good ranking for Wonderful Precure. I wasn't sure it would end up above Healing Good. I felt pretty confident that it would end up above Smile, at least. But the ending was so strong, I wanted to put it up as high as I possibly could. Number 11 and number 10 are Futuriwa Precure, Max Heart, and Futuriwa Precure. I couldn't put Wonderful Precure above the starting seasons, as flawed as they are. While I was very tempted, because I just loved the ending so much, I have to stand firm on that being a terrible start to the season. It was. I would never recommend Wonderful Precure as the starting season to anybody, because the start of the season is just that unappealing. It is a flawed season, no matter how much it recovered. I think everybody should watch it if you're watching Precure, but I just can't justify putting such a flawed season above the original seasons, which are also flawed, but they have more appeal to them than Wonderful Precure. No recency bias will ever overshadow that. But I feel quite confident in putting Wonderful Precure above the seasons I have put it above. I don't think that'll change, really. Now, there weren't many changes in this bottom half of the ranking, but there were quite a few changes in this top half of the ranking. And just starting right off at number 9, I have moved Hugto Precure to number 9. I still think positively about this season, but ask me to recall nearly anything about this season, and I can't. The season has not lasted in my memory nearly at all. I think it's pretty forgettable, honestly. I can remember a few things about it, but it's just not stuck with me as much as some of the other seasons. I was tempted to move it below the original seasons and even Wonderful Precure, but I think so positively about the season, I decided to leave it in this upper half. I think it's a season I could use a revisit towards just to see. I have such strong impressions about some of these other seasons. I just couldn't justify ranking it above them. At number 8, I have Go Princess Precure. It's about where I was before. I thought about moving it down too for forgettability, but I think it stuck with me more than Hokuto has. Number 7 is Maho Tsukai Precure. It is currently airing Mirai Days. I'm sure that will affect my ranking a little bit. Honestly, I kind of wanted to boost it up a little bit, but I thought I'll just leave it here for now, see how Mirai Days plays out. Speaking of Mirai Days, I did not do a watch along for episode 3 because I knew that Cure Fleece was not going to be in it. I will speak about that show when Cure Fleece comes back, because where is she? Bring her back. But yeah, I'm being reminded of the season a lot through Mirai Days, and it's reminding me just how much I loved it. I wanted to rewatch it before Mirai Days, but that just didn't work out with my schedule. Let's just put a pin in it for a few months. How about that? At number 6, I still have Star Twinkle Precure. At number 5, I still have Kyoto Kitty Precure a la mode. And then at number 4, I have the season that I think I swapped it with Hokuto actually. I didn't realize I did that, but I have Splash Star Precure. If you remember my first video, this was the season I was most on the fence about because it just aged so well for me in hindsight. I have such fond memories about it. I probably feel the strongest about the characters this season than the characters in any other season, quite frankly. I just adore them so much. I remember Otana Precure just sobbing seeing these characters return. I just couldn't justify not having it in my top 5. I was tempted to just throw it right to number 1, but I know that's not the thing to do. I know that the season was very flawed, so this is the highest I could justify bringing it. I feel very confident in this. I don't know how it ended up so low. I really don't. It's such a good season. I just adore it. I want to revisit it and make sure I'm not taking crazy pills or something. But I feel pretty confident in moving Splash Star up on the list. At number 3, it is now Heartcatch Precure. Such a fantastic season. It didn't move down. I moved another season up. And the season I moved up is at number 2, Tropical Rouge Precure. I feel so strongly about it. I also am tempted to move it to number 1, but I know that this season is just very appealing to me personally. I love Tropical. I've got Kurun right here. So I stuck to my guns and I have left Fresh Precure at number 1. I just think it's such a strong season. It captures everything that Precure needs. I went on my whole spiel in the original ranking video if you want to go see that. I don't know if it'll be number 1 forever, but for now, that's how I feel. And that's my updated list. I am very excited for the new Precure season. Of course, I'll be back to talk about it. Let's see if it can improve the start of a season. Please let these people have learned their lesson. I need the season to start strong. Thanks. But yes, you'll definitely be hearing from me attacking Precure sometime soon because it's kind of Precure overload right now. One season ending, another season starting, all while Mirai Days is going on. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. I really am gonna miss Wonderful Precure though. I haven't missed the past 2 seasons when they ended, but I'm missing Wonderful Precure. I'm gonna miss these girls. The baton toss was very... it just hit me. But I'm very excited for the new season though. I really am. So until next time, bye!